All right, so with the offense, there's a defense and special teams, and that's what we're going to look at, the defense and special teams of the Pittsburgh Steelers all-time team. And we start with defensive end L.C. Greenwood. Pittsburgh fans know who he is. He was right there in the same line with me and Joe Greene. So they made that steel curtain. He was a part of that steel curtain. So fantastic football player, a guy that could get after it. A lot of sacks, not recorded, but I know he had a ton of sacks, a ton of fumbles, forced fumbles, and he was a tackling guy. I mean, it earned him a 6-time Pro Bowler and 2-time All-Pro, as well as winning 4 Super Bowl titles. Like, he was a big deal. So honestly, L.C. Greenwood, though, you got to put this guy on this team, and I can't wait until he pairs up with a little special someone. Now, pairing up Greenwood, you got to have me and Joe Greene. Joe Greene, epitome of just what you want out of a scary guy. Just, in my opinion, one of the best defensive tackles of all time. Just fantastic overall. Fantastic overall player, and is able to really combine in speed and power. And I think him and Greenwood is going to be fantastic together. Again, this is a 10-time Pro Bowler, 5-time All-Pro, winning multiple Super Bowls, Hall of Famer. So he's a legitimate, fantastic defensive tackle that's gonna get the run stopped, and everything about it just seems very. It's gonna be scary to see. So Greenwood, Greene paired up again. I'm excited. Defensive end Aaron Smith is gonna be right next to me and Joe Greene, and L.C. Greenwood. Aaron Smith is one of the best D-lines to ever suit up for the Pittsburgh Steelers. A guy that people know. When he was healthy, he was dangerous, and he definitely had the ability of being this valuable asset to them. So honestly, got to put Aaron Smith in there. This is a guy that totaled about 44 sacks in thinking about a 12-year career. Not that great, but when you look at it, injuries did stall him. But this is a guy that, when he can dominate, and you had to really understand and watch really up closely that he really was an effective guy. It's a big reason why he won 2 Super Bowls, and he was a Pro Bowler. So overall, Aaron Smith, I think, will be pretty good. L.C. Greenwood and Joe Greene's mentoring will definitely help him out in terms of production-wise. Left outside linebacker James Harrison. We're going to start with the beast himself. James Harrison is a monster. The way this guy plays, the way this guy works out, everything about him is he's a scary individual. So when James Harrison is on this team, it's going to be just hell for the other guys in terms of the training's going to be intense. The other teams are definitely going to be putting up with some serious issues right there, because he is an excellent linebacker, and he's great at getting to the QB. He's great at just wreaking havoc, and honestly, 5 Pro Bowls, 2 All Pros, 2 Super Bowls. Pretty much, this is a man that I believe should be in the Hall of Fame at some point in his career. I think he will be in the Hall of Fame at some point in his career. So, I mean, overall, this is a fantastic individual. It's a scary guy, and honestly, he is Pittsburgh. He is going to be that enforcer, and there are a lot of enforcers that you will see coming up in terms of where the Steelers' defense will be standing. Now, enforcers, inside linebackers, I've always been a believer that the biggest enforcer, the biggest influence will be inside linebackers. They're the one that sets the tone because they get the most tackles, and honestly, they're big leaders. And you're going to have Jack Ham as your first inside linebacker. And Jack Ham is scary. 6-time All-Pro, an 8-time Pro Bowler, Hall of Famer, a 4-time Super Bowl champion. A guy that had a lot of interceptions, a lot of just forced fumbles and fumble recoveries and fumbles. And unfortunately, the statistic for sacks and tackles were really not official, but I already know he had around, I'm pretty sure, over 1,000 tackles. He's had, I'm sure, over 60 sacks. I mean, this is a guy that honestly was scary. This was an enforcer, and it's the kind of guy you need, and he is a Hall of Famer for a reason. So overall, yeah, I would definitely put Jack Ham as that first inside linebacker, and he's going to pair up with another similar Jack, and that guy is also very scary. So you will be seeing him very, very shortly. But yeah, Jack Ham, I mean, him along with James Harrison both on that left side, that's scary. Pairing up with Jack Ham on the right inside linebacker position is Jack Lambert. Jack Lambert is top 5, even top 3 best middle linebacker I've ever seen in my entire life. Not seen, sorry, covered. Have been able to research about, like, from everything I've seen, from all the body of work, he is top 3 for sure. Scary individual, like wants to kill you kind of guy on the field. Like, one step on the field, you're not his friend, you're nothing, you're just the guy, he's going to kill you. Like, he had that ability about him to just go out there with aggression, and it just Hall of Famer, of course, 9-time Pro Bowler, a 6-time All-Pro, was a part of that epic Steelers defense, 4 Super Bowl titles. You know, this is a guy that had multiple, I mean, he had over 1,000 tackles. He's had over, I would say, over 70 sacks for sure. He's a guy that can do it all. Literally, he's a guy that can literally do it all as a linebacker position. So, yes, I do believe that Jack Lambert with Jack Ham and James Harrison over there, that's a scary linebacking core. And it's a linebacking core that just hates you, that's just ready to demolish you, and that's what makes them dangerous, and that's what makes them, well, that's what makes them scary. So, watch out. I really do believe in this entire team. As of right now, the defensive wise linebackers are definitely one of my faves for this team. Right outside linebacker, Greg Lloyd. He's going to pretty much finish that linebacking core, which is already scary and just full of aggression and big dudes. Well, Greg Lloyd is exactly that. He's a pretty big dude. He's built like a tank, and for a 6th rounder, was able to get 5 Pro Bowls, 3 All-Pros. Was a guy that had numerous amounts of tackling, had a lot of sacks. Obviously not as much, but he had sacks. He can get to the QB. He can recover fumbles. He can force fumbles. He can get interceptions. He can do it all. He was a machine. He was good at wrecking and causing chaos, and that's what Pittsburgh needs. They need James Harrison and Greg Lloyd to cause chaos. And for Greg Lloyd to have about over 700 tackles and 54.5 career sacks, that's pretty good. And like I said, they're both huge. They're both men. They're both ready to just, they're both dogs out there. They're ready to go out there and release them into the wild and get them to essentially go and get after it and just dominate. And I think that's what's scary, in my opinion, about this linebacking core, is that they can do that. So not many teams will get past this entire linebacking core for sure. Now the first corner is going to be Mel Blount. Mel Blount is, well, he's superhuman. There's a reason that they made the Mel Blount rule. They made it for him because of how his dominance really transcended the entire secondary position. This is a guy that was very physical and very scary, and a guy that was going to punish you hard and was not going to make sure that you would be satisfied with everything you got. That day, if you're playing against Mel Blount, you hated your life. You were like, I got to go up against this dude? Yeah, hell no. I don't want to do that. Well, that's what he wanted. He wanted you to hate playing football with him because he was going to demolish and end your day. And it was, you know, there's a reason he's a Hall of Famer. There's a reason he's a 5-time Pro Bowler, a 2-time All-Pro, part of that Steel Curtain defense, and a 4-time Super Bowl champion. You know, there is a reason for a lot of things. And at some point, 11 interceptions in an entire season, that's fantastic. Like I said, a guy that can get it, that can literally play physically and just demolish you. A defensive player of the year. You know, he's done it all. So he's done it all to the max. He's definitely on an all like 1970s, 1980s kind of team. You know, so he is. Mel Blount is Mel Blount. Mel Blount is very physical, and Mel Blount is nothing. No, ain't no joke. He really ain't no joke. He's ready to get it after. and he's ready to just dominate. And honestly, what can I say other than that? Mel Blount and Jack Lambert together again, like in the same defense, it's gonna be scary. It's gonna be kind of scary. So, yeah, Mel Blount. It's gonna be fun to watch. Now you're gonna need another corner, and that corner is gonna be Ike Taylor. He's definitely one of the best corners in Steeler history. A guy that's actually very underappreciated, under-acknowledged, underrated overall. He was a very good corner. He was just a pretty good, all right, I'm going to line up with this guy, and I'm going to make sure I do my best and try my best and play my hardest to make sure I shut him down. And you know what? He was pretty good at it. And no, he was not a interception machine. He was more of a tackling guy, and he was more of a, batting balls down, making sure that they don't get, the yardage they need at this particular time. He was a guy that was capable of doing many things, and he showed up for game day. So he is definitely a talker. Mel Blount, compared to Ike Taylor, Mel Blount is definitely a harder hitter, but Ike Taylor is definitely a finesse guy. He's a guy that's, going to talk his stuff, but he's going to back it up. And I think they need that grittiness, that aggression, that charisma of, yeah, we're gonna come here and we're gonna dominate you right now, and there's nothing you can do about it. And that's what I think is going to be very fun to watch, but also very scary for opponents to have to deal with. On one side, you got to go up against Ike Taylor that can hold his own, and Mel Blount that's just a force to be reckoned with. So now, free safety, Rod Woodson. Rod Woodson was a fantastic defensive back for the Pittsburgh Steelers for the longest time. I did put him on the Baltimore Ravens all-time team. I'm also putting him on the Steelers all-time team because, well, he is a Steeler. 10 years, actually. Only 4 years for Baltimore, and that, got him to where he is right now. You got to put Pittsburgh as his number one go-to in terms of how much of a Hall of Famer he really became in the city. And getting 10 years, having those 38 interceptions, and having a ton of tackles, and getting fumbles, getting fumble recoveries, having 13.5 sacks. He only had sacks in Pittsburgh, nowhere else. So, yeah, like I said, this is a legendary guy. And just overall, Rod Woodson is the man. He's a Hall of Famer. I've already said it. He's a multiple Pro Bowler, multiple All-Pro. He's won the Super Bowl. He's a Hall of Famer. So, honestly, having him as a free safety there, of course, we all know about Cardinal Lake. He did a pretty good job as free safety for the Pittsburgh Steelers during his career, but Rod Woodson's got to take the cake. He's been a Steeler for more and longer, and just, yeah, he's another one of those Steeler defensive backs that, like I said, it's going to be very, very great to see because this secondary is one of my favorites as of right now. Strong safety, Troy Polamalu. Troy Polamalu is by far like one of the most entertaining guys I've ever watched. Just watching him play every play, just going at it and really putting a lot of heart into it. A lot of heart in every play. Being humble though about it, but being such a hard hitter. Just a hard hitter and demolisher, man. Like, he really was he's a beast. He's a future Hall of Famer, and he's a beast. And, like, being an 8-time Pro Bowler, being a 4-time All-Pro, having 2 Super Bowls under his belt, being a key component of the Steeler defense that was really strong for the solid 2000s, of course, and, early into 2010s. Honestly, he is a big portion of that success over there, and he's a trendsetter. He's, who really, like, the way he transcended the whole, jumping over the line to try to tackle guys, and just the flashy picks and just the smart reading and everything. It was fantastic. He is one of those awesome professional at strong safety, and he's a future Hall of Famer, like I said. He's had his fair share of interceptions, his fair share of sacks, his fair share of tackles, fair share of everything, and he's a Steeler. He's always been a Steeler for his entire career. So overall, you got to give this man the head. You got to give him the leadership, the responsibility of being strong safety, for this all Pittsburgh team defense, because in my honest opinion, Mel Blount, Polamalu, hard hitters, just they're nothing to mess with. And like I said, this is a very scary defense that has the potential of being one of the best in this all-time league, if not the best. Kicker Sean Suisham. Yeah, he's something else. I really do enjoy Sean Suisham. I think he's got that. He's just one of those guys that honestly, very accurate kicker. He was for the longest time, well, not longest time, but 4 years in Washington, landed in Pittsburgh in 2010, and really he's always had a pretty great percentage of free throws. Never missed an extra point as being a part of this Pittsburgh Steelers team, and just overall, like, honestly, you gotta think to yourself, like, yeah, he was accurate and he was able to just come into his zone and do what he could to just get it done. And like I said, this is the best kicker available that I got to see in terms of numbers and everything. So yeah, so that guy. With that said, Sean Suisham will be the kicker for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Punter Bobby Walden. So very old school punter from the 60s and 70s. A guy that stayed 10 years in Pittsburgh and had roughly about almost 30,000 punt yards. His longest kick was 72. He got blocked 5 times in 10 years, which is really not that terrible. And had an average punt yards of 41.1. He's a guy that's valuable. Definitely. I mean, he is the best punter out there for the Steelers concern, and he is a Pro Bowler, won a Super Bowl twice. Not much else I can say other than that. Yeah, he is the punter of the Pittsburgh Steelers, so that's the most. That is the best choice. Return man, Antoine Rendell. Rendell is fantastic return man, but fantastic receiver though. I mean, honestly, if you're looking at it, I mean, they had him at some great pass plays. They had some good handoffs for him. They had some good handoff plays for sure. He's fast, so he can definitely get some receiving and some rushing numbers, and he did just that when he played for 5 years there in Pittsburgh, and the rest of his years with the Washington Redskins. So overall, I mean, like I said, very agile, very fun to watch kind of guy. So he's done in the playoffs too, and like I said, he's really entertaining when it comes to punt returns. He's had about 5 punt return touchdowns. He's definitely had his fair share of overall beauty, and just a speedy dude, just a speedy guy that you need to always be aware of. And honestly, you just gotta have this guy as your return man. I think it definitely will help that he can also be that guy to replace Ward or Brown if they get injured. Rendell can definitely be that slot guy. So that's kind of entertaining, and that's also kind of fun to watch. So, like I said, he definitely completes something that they need, and he's the X factor. The coach will be Chuck Noll. He is the best coach in the Pittsburgh Steelers organization all time. I mean, you got some great coaches that came up from him, and that's, you're looking at Mike Tomlin at one point. I mean, Mike Tomlin is a fantastic coach right now, but with only 1 ring there. If you were to win another ring, 2 more, I would say, and continuously have success, that's a different story. I just don't see it. He's done a great job with Pittsburgh, of course. So has Cowher. I mean, I think he did a great job. He won a Super Bowl there in Super Bowl 40, but they haven't had as much success, nor will they, as much as Chuck Noll has. Chuck Noll was the coach of a team that owned the 70s, that owned a decade, and that's something that Mike Tomlin, pretty sure that won't happen for him, especially now in today's NFL. And Cowher, no, that was Dallas's time and New England's time. So he was in the middle of 2 fantastic teams that dominated a decade. And so not fantastic, but great coaches nonetheless. But you're looking at Chuck Noll. He's a Hall of Famer. You know, he played in the NFL before. He's a 4-time Super Bowl champion. They led the Pittsburgh Steelers to he almost had about 200 victories, 7 shy of 200. A guy that had like well over a 60%, a win percentage of 60% over that in the playoffs. A guy that had an average like division ranking of around second, and a guy that, like I said, went to the playoffs a lot and coached for 23 years in Pittsburgh. And honestly, like, you just gotta take notice that he is the best coach coming out from this Pittsburgh Steelers organization, and he's gonna lead the troops. And I think it's gonna be very fun to watch him coach all of these guys together. It's gonna be very, very fun. So.